Okay, so this is topic 4 for fuel gas system. It will be part 1. The part 1 will only cover about the gas industry and the fuel gases. Okay, you have a reference. So this subject is based on these two book reference, which is Building Service Handbook by Hall, F. and Greeno, and then Environment Science in Building by McMullen. So this is quite a recent book, 2015 and 2018. Okay, so our CLO, by the end of this course, we should be able to apply all these building services, the principle of design, and also any basic calculation. Okay, in this topic, we are covering fuel gases. So in Malaysia, we have 3 times more gas reserve than oil, and gas is actually more efficient in generating electricity than oil. So this is all information available. We are actually the 15th largest gas reserve and 27 largest crude oil reserve in the world. So basically, these are all good for the economy lah. We have very good natural resources as compared to other country. So additional information of our gas reserve and then how much is available. So most of these gases are found in offshore, which is Sarawak, Sabah, and the east coast of Peninsula Malaysia. And then a gas reserve offshore is dedicated to the Peninsula Gas Utilization (PGU) project. And then, well, that offshore Sarawak are committed for Sarawak Domestic Gas Project and LNG export. So this LNG is liquid natural gas lah. Then the PGU project commenced in 1984, spanned over 1,700 kilometers, and we have our this main gas transmission pipeline, supply pipeline, and laterals. So the system composed of 6 gas processing plant, which is producing methane, ethane, propane, butane, and condensate. So this is our Malaysia. We have a lot of pipeline for all our natural gases. And then there's rules and regulation for our gas supply system. So Gas Supply Act 1993 and then Gas Supply Regulation 1997. So this is to ensure that the supply and distribution of the pipeline to consumer are controlled and regulated. So whatever things that are being built or any sort of plant, there will be acts and regulation associated with the, let's say, this gas supply system or electricity generating system. All these are in place to ensure that everything are built according to spec, and then they are to be regulated and to control, and then they are all to be controlled lah, so that from supplier to consumer, all of these are built safely. So you do not want to have your electric generation building or your gas supply system in a very low quality built environment. So if they are built very poorly, maybe in some of the cases it's not so dangerous, but it must not be allowed lah for the contractor to build the building poorly or for the designer to design the system poorly. In the case where there's a nuclear reactor, then it's even more stringent lah. So that's why there's all this rule and regulation for all of them to follow. So because we are unruly, for all the contractors, if you can cut costs, then you will cut costs. That's why all these acts are in place. So if you violate the act and an accident happen, then this act will enforce itself for that project or that incident, and then they will punish the people who break the rules. So that's why these rules are in place to punish the people who break the rule. For mostly they are to when people breaks the rules, they are thinking of the profit lah. So if you build the stuff properly, that means you don't have to spend so much on the material. So this is the first deterrent for all the contractors or designer to build and design professionally. Okay, for the gas supply system, the Act shall apply to the supply of gas to consumer through pipeline. So downstream of the last flange of the city gate station or from storage tank and cylinder specifically used for reticulation of gas to any apparatus in any premises. So the Act applied from generation of the gas from very, very far away or where the gas is located to the consumer. Okay, so next is a fuel gas. Fuel gas are flammable gas customary used for burning with air to produce heat. So either for power or light. And then the widely used are natural gas and liquefied petroleum gas. So this is LPG lah. NG stands for natural gas and LPG stands for liquefied petroleum gas. So although NG and LPG perform similar tasks, they have different chemical properties. So what you find in your tangki gas in Malaysia usage can either be natural gas or liquefied petroleum gas. So both of them are being used in the same function. So this natural NG and the LPG are not what you use in your car. So in your car, you are actually using petroleum. So it's not a gas. So as I said before, NG and LPG is what you will find in your gas tanki which you use for cooking lah. So they are basically the same, but they have different chemical properties. Okay, so natural gas is odorless and colorless. They are basically methane for natural gas. So they are combustible and when burned off, give a great deal of energy and offers higher fuel efficiency compared to petroleum, which is the LPG lah. Unlike other fossil fuel, they are actually burn clean and emit lower level of potentially harmful byproduct into the air. So all the fuel that we use, if you are to use it up, are actually releasing byproduct. And here it says that natural gas is actually less harmful to the environment. Although they are releasing the byproduct, but they are cleaner, which means they burn more efficiently. Most of the product is being burned off instead of being emitted, instead of being released back to the atmosphere. So this is what it means lah, by it being a better source of fuel and being cleaner as opposed to our petroleum. Okay, so they are lighter than air, which means they are easily dispersible, and then they are a more cost-efficient fuel if you are to use it as compared to other source of petrol-based energy sources. So at the end, natural gas is vital and is one of the cleanest, safest, and most useful of all energy sources. So this is the system on how the natural gas is sourced and distributed to the consumer. So in Malaysia, natural gas is conveyed through the PGU pipeline. So this is owned by Petronas. All our fuel are owned by Petronas in Malaysia. So once they are harvested, they are processed in the gas processing plant. Once they are processed in the processing plant, then they are to leave the pipeline. Then from the pipeline, you are to distribute to homes and businesses. So there's A, B, C, D, E, and this is how there's this 5 component in the gas distribution system. So for the first part, which is A, which is a city gate station, the station is used for regulating and metering purpose and is located just a T valve of the PGU. So this will follow a case following the electrical generation system where they are harvested from the source. They are transported at a very high pressure, and then as it moves past different system, then this gas pressure are reduced, and then at the end, then they will be at a very low pressure lah, at the distribution line. So there's different station, and then as it pass by each station, then the pressure is reduced. So this is the gas supply schematics. So gas is obtained from the offshore drilling, and then they are to be processed to be separated it properly into natural gas or the liquid petroleum gas, and then they are to be transmitted. So this gas transmission will span for thousands of kilometers, and then it will end up over here, which is to another station to either commercial purpose, residential purpose, or industry. So this is another schematic on how natural gas is distributed. And then this is info on the liquid petroleum gas. So natural gas and NG and LPG, they are the same. They same in terms of their usage are the same. But what makes them different is their chemical composition. So NG is methane, but LPG is butane and propane. So all these gases, usually they are stored in moderate pressure. The natural gas and the LPG, they are stored in liquid pressure, and they are stored in liquid form, means they are stored under pressure. So to use them, the pressure are released and the NG and LPG will actually vaporize into gas. So one of the difference between LPG is that one of the difference between LPG and natural gas is that LPG is heavier than air. Oh, okay. Okay, so I slow down a bit. So NG and LPG is essentially the same. NG, natural gas, is methane. Their chemical composition is different. And then for LPG, they are consist of butane and propane. So these are all information lah. And then there will be a table to differentiate between natural gas and liquid petroleum gas. So LPG has relative few chemical composition, so it's easier to achieve the right mix ratio. So in Malaysia, our usage of either natural gas or LPG is for cooking lah, which you will find in the gas cylinder. So this is gas tangki lah. And only recently, Gas Malaysia Sdn Bhd is providing alternative way of supplying LPG to home and businesses using pipe gas system. So our main usage of natural gas and LPG are mostly on cooking. So in Malaysia, we have been using these gases, this fuel, to cook for a very long time. And the way is we are using the gas cylinder or the tanki gas lah. But now as we are modernizing, so the gas Malaysia's Riambahat is providing alternative on how we are getting our natural gas or the LPG. So this is by a pipe gas system lah. So we are moving towards how the US are having it. So US have gas pipeline instead of using gas tanki. They have this pipeline which is like electricity lah. So they do not have to keep buying the gas tanki or the tanki gas. In this case, there will be a meter system in place to measure how much gas you have used in your house monthly. So they are converting the usage of the natural gas and liquid petroleum gas into some sort of like how we use electricity. Okay, so this is our gas tanki. Particularly, we use this, but we are slowly changing to copy what US is doing, which is to install the gas pipeline to every home or condo. So we have the supply at the tips of our hand lah, like electricity. But in the case where we still want to use, in the case where the gas supply line is not available yet, this supply can actually be installed in the condo. In the case, the supply can be isolated within the compound, which means we have a very big tank, or we have different bigger tank than this, and it's being supplied through a pipe system to the condo. But I see this is rare lah, so mostly we'll still be using this. But this is one of the way that NG or LPG can be supplied for area lah, residential usage. So there's two methods to supply if you are to consider you have to isolate an area within a compound to install this container. One is the bulk tank system and another is the manifold system. So there's these two systems in place lah. Basically they are about the same. One, for this, the bulk tank system is a very big container which contain the gases, or the manifold system. So manifold system is just a simple larger than this size tank connected to each other to supply to the condo or the particular area. So these two methods in the later slide will be shown how it will look like. So all of this information will be connected seamlessly. Okay, so this is a flowchart of how the LPG is being distributed. Okay, so why we want to use fuel gas? There's this advantage on using fuel gas because fuel gas appliances require little maintenance and flue systems are simple. So this is a flue system schematics. So we have our appliances here, and then this is a flue system. So basically a flue system is where the fuel gas are being burned. So once they are being burned, all their byproducts are to be released here, and then there's any debris which is particles, they will drop here and it can be released out here. So hot airy byproduct can be released through this chimney exit, and then any debris will accumulate here and to be removed through this door. So mostly fuel gas burn clean and does not emit ash or soot upon combustion. So soot is some sort of like carbon or ash lah, so which is black in color lah. So fuel gas actually burn clean, but all these are made in place lah, in case you have other thing burning lah. So it's not because fuel gas is clean and does not emit ash or soot that you do not have all this in place. So we need to have an outlet for all the byproduct to go out of our home and not just be circulated around in our house lah. That's why this flue system have this chimney for any byproduct to escape and soothe for any debris to accumulate here. So this is a flow system schematics, just for info for you guys. Okay, as natural gas is distributed by pipeline, it benefits from needs of storage space. This is a bit okay. This means that you do not need to have any storage space it benefit from the needs of storage space. Okay, so this is the last. So to summarize this part, NG and LPG are basically what you'll find in your gas tanki. So there's a comparison, there's a differences between natural gas and LPG. So for NG, they are actually producing about 9.7% of flue, and LPG, they are producing about 12% of flue. So based on the usage of it being used up, NG is actually more environment friendly. And then the differences between NG and LPG is that NG is more difficult to ignite if leaked. And then this is due to their chemical composition lah. That's why they are more difficult to ignite and then to burn off lah. There's this flame temperature which is about the same, and then how they are being supplied is a bit different lah. So LPG required storage space and constant refill. So you do not supply LPG through the pipeline. Natural gas can be easily supplied through the pipeline. So that's about it for today lah. So one thing is you need to bear in mind, NG and LPG, this is the source of fuel we use in our tangki minyak, which is the tong tangki lah, which we use for cooking. So this two is not used for in your car. So they are in gas form, which is compressed to liquid. In this case, the LPG, which is compressed to liquid into our gas tanki, or in natural gas, they are supplied in high pressure, and then they are to slowly be reduced to our consumer level. So all of them are pressurized under moderate pressure. But there's a difference between NG and LPG, which is LPG can only be supplied through tanker storage tank at customer site. What we find in our house, the tong gas, is LPG. So depends on, NG can also be supplied in tong gas, but do bear in mind that LPG cannot be supplied by direct pipeline. So this is the difference between, this is only the main difference between LPG and NG is that LPG cannot be supplied through pipeline. And this is for you guys to know lah, which is not written here. So it's not written very clearly lah. But the usage of NG and LPG is the same. So for this, we will continue on our next session lah.